his cheating heart, we unveiled Paula Corbin Jones. Paula Corbin Jones instituted a sexual abuse case against Bill Clinton. He lied about that in that case, and he got himself impeached. It wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been in the American Spectator. We tripped across the most interesting story of the 1990s. Bill Clinton's ongoing excess and Hillary's ongoing enabling of Bill's excessive behavior with women. And of course, this was a more penetrating piece than anything Woodward and Bernstein did. I mean, this really caught him, seducing woman after woman after woman out in parking lots, in the governor's mansion and places like that.
Because the Clintons have been really in the crosshairs of the cultural wars of this country for so long, the, quote, vast right-wing conspiracy, end quote, is kind of real.
We actually published a story in the American Spectator, I think it was '96, about how Bill cheated his golf game. He was caught cheating at golf by one of our reporters. I mean, it was a funny story, but it was a part of this great pageant of lies that they've been putting together since 1992.
She, as you know, has described all of what you write, all of what a lot of people write as this conspiracy against her, this vast right-wing conspiracy. What do you say to people who say that in her defense?
Well, I'd say, how would we manage to provide material, new material, year after year after year, if she weren't crooked? I mean, when she was made Secretary of State, she was in a perfect position to commit no more blunders, no more scandals. And what did she do? She committed blunder after blunder, scandal after scandal.
Those 4 years as America's top diplomat gave her enemies plenty of ammunition. Accused of failing the Americans who died in Benghazi, but cleared of blame.
Wow. Unconfirmed reports about Gaddafi being captured.
My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am. So you ask my opinion, I will tell you my opinion. I'm not going to be channeling my husband.
It is another State Department scandal that haunts her.
When Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State, rather than use the government-provided State Department email system, she used her own email, and she stored those emails on a private server in her home that she had set up for that purpose. On that private system, she also distributed or received a lot of information that was technically classified and should not have been exposed to the public internet.
110 emails in 52 email chains contain classified information.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material.
8 of those chains contained information that was top secret.
I opted for convenience to use my personal email account, which was allowed by the State Department.
The security culture of the State Department was generally lacking.
I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of 2.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system.
Looking back, it would have been probably smarter to have used 2 devices.
It is possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account.
In retrospect, this didn't turn out to be convenient at all.
We cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts.
Well, I'm sorry, you're the Secretary of State, and under law, your official communications are the property of the American people, not your own personal preserve.
Her campaign has a very difficult time dealing with it. I mean, when they ask to explain it, they basically say she's been under the gun for so long, under attack from Republicans for so long, that she's sort of developed a paranoia, and maybe she goes overboard with it sometimes, but she has a justified reason to be nervous, right, to be afraid.
About 2.
Is that somebody throwing something at me? Is that part of Cirque du Soleil?
Ironically, for somebody who has a trust problem, she's actually, I think, the most trustworthy person we've seen in a very long time running for president. I think part of her problem is she knows that some of the things without nuance aren't entirely true. And that's a problem for her because she has a very high standard of truth.
You know, it's easy to tear down. It's hard to build up. It's easy to insult. It's easy to criticize.
Why on earth make that decision when she must have known the risks that came along with that?
It's clearly something that was done to evade the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act. Who uses the Freedom of Information Act? Well, yes, political enemies do, but also the press. It's a basic tool of the press. Hillary hates the press. That doesn't mean that you can set up your own server in your basement and say, well, I'm not subject to the subpoenas of my enemies.
Lots of time. Hi, it's great. Well, lots of time to talk later. Thank you all. What did you say?
It's especially problematic for her because it's fresh. A lot of the baggage of Hillary Clinton's political life comes from her husband's administration and is ancient history to a lot of voters. Older voters feel like they've heard it before. Younger voters feel like it was something they learned in history class. So to have this scandal that is fresh and that is complicated, so without knowing the details, a lot of people can just look at it and see it as a dark cloud hanging over her campaign.
You know, you got to make split decisions. That's what leadership is all about.
This kind of secrecy is a Clinton hallmark. It's a Clinton sort of political hallmark, and it makes people very, very nervous. Secrecy issue is a problem. The trustworthy issue is a problem.
What?
The email is a problem.
I think there's a perception that wherever the Clintons go, there's a mess.
It's kind of astonishing. And it can come back and bite you in the ass.